Okay, why don't we go ahead and get this episode going? Well, happy December to everybody out there. Welcome to my podcast. It's called To Serve. My name is Michael Skelton. I'm the host. For those of you who haven't listened yet, welcome. And again, happy December. I hope that things are going well for you. I hope that you're getting all of your shopping done. If you have Christmas shopping to do, I hope that's going well. I hope that you have already gotten to spend some good time with good family, maybe over Thanksgiving, maybe some of the earlier Christmas celebrations here in December, or I hope that you have good plans and some good get togethers to look forward to, or both. Maybe you've already had one or two get togethers and you still have more planned. That's the boat I'm in. But either way, whatever it is for you, I just want to tell you Merry Christmas. And once again, thank you for joining us. It's been asked of me quite a few times over the span of my career as a firefighter. There's been many people who ask, well, do you hope that all or at least some of your kids will follow in your footsteps? Is that something you really hope and wish for? And it's a valid question because whenever you're in most jobs, I would say, but even in maybe even a little bit more in one of the public servant jobs like firefighting or EMS or the military, police, whatever it may be, uh, jobs like that, it's a very common thing for the kids to follow in their parents' footsteps in some way, shape, or form. And it's even more common for people to ask that of you if that's a desire of yours. And it's very common for the person who is in said job to really want their kids to do it. And my answer is this, to just go ahead and get to the point. The answer that I give to anyone who asks that, who has asked that of me in the past, and anybody who will, is while I'd be very blessed and excited and ecstatic for any of my kids to follow in my footsteps and become a firefighter, a police officer, or go into the Marine Corps, or whatever it may be, do EMS, any of the first responder type jobs like that. That would be very exciting, and I'd be proud of them for sure. There's no doubt at all. But having said that, I don't want to lay that on the kids in any way, shape, or form. I don't expect them to do it just because it's a job that I've done. I don't, matter of fact, I would go so far as to say I don't want them to if that's not what they feel called to do. You see, I believe that God puts a calling on all of our lives. Well, He puts many callings, but as far as what we're going to do as a career, I'm a firm believer that He calls us and He guides us and directs us in those. And if it's not what we are called to do, then we shouldn't do it. And so why would I want that on my children? Why would I want them to do something as noble as it may be? Whether it is one of the first responder jobs or a doctor, nurse, whatever. I would not want them to do it if that's not what they were truly called to do. There's a whole litany of things that comes along with these types of professions, and most any profession, that are not just all glamour and glitz. There's a lot of stuff that's hard mentally, emotionally, it's hard physically. And while, yes, if you're strong enough, yes, you can do this, I still would not want my kids to be doing this, as that's not what they were called to do. We see this way too often that people want to go into certain jobs, and in particular, I'll say firefighting and or police officers, and they may not be called to do it, and it can end up in tragedy. But even if it doesn't, then you can have a high rate of burnout, even for those who don't end in their careers in a tragic or a very harsh manner. You can end up with burnout and that kind of thing. So again, that's just all the more reason that, yes, what I want for my children, I would be excited if they followed me, but what I truly want for them is what they end up being called to do. And that's what I want to encourage them. It kind of ties into something else that I've been either asked throughout my life or that I've had conversations with other guys in my life who we've talked about this, about passing on a name. You go way back, and passing on a name was a really big thing. It was a very important. People wanted their surnames to continue on even long after they're gone, and I get it. And yes, that's great. But again, to the extent to that becomes one of the main focuses in your life, I think that's unhealthy. And there's people that do today even. There's people that just as strongly as a long time ago, they do today wish for their surnames to continue on. Oh, I really want a boy to carry on that name, whatever it may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that desire until, and I want to make clear that what I'm talking about, the where it does become an issue, is if that becomes one of the most important things in your life. And here's why. I just want to throw out a little bit of it's a friendly challenge if that's something that you would admit and say, yeah, that's one of the most important things in my life. If I may, I just want to throw out a challenge and say to you, what if there's more important things to try to focus on and pass on through your children than a name? And bear with me here, because I know that can even come off as offensive to some if that's the way you think. But please bear with me just for a minute. See if we can talk about it a little bit, if we can discuss it. What I want to say is the answer is yes. There are more important things to pass on to our children than just our name, and that's a big statement. That's not a small thing. For instance, one of the biggest and most important things, and I'm going to speak in generalities here, is passing on to your children a legacy of being a good person, of just for me, a legacy. I'm going to pass on that legacy of being a Christian and pass that down to my children and how they will follow God and follow His word. So, but for anybody who might be listening, that's important to me. That is a very big deal. And if you're not a current follower of Christ, well, first of all, of course, I just want to encourage you to give that some very strenuous thought, and maybe even talk to somebody in your life who might be a Christian. But beyond that, I want to go ahead and say, okay, even from a point of view of a secular world, I still would want to pass on just being a good person to my children, and even more so as a Christian. That to me is more important than my name, the skeleton name, carrying on through time. I do have, full disclosure, I do have sons, so it will at least pass for another generation in my line. And I also have two brothers, and they both have, one has two sons and one has one son. So they have sons as well that can carry on their line. So the skeleton name is probably going to continue carrying on for a while. But that's not why I am saying all of this. It's not because, well, I don't have to worry about it, so I don't have to make a big deal about it. Let me tell you, even if it was on the cusp of no longer continuing as a surname, I would still have the same thought process for what is most important to pass to my children. And so again, I would say it's more important to me to pass on the godly heritage and the teaching them the good ways that we need to act and conduct ourselves as my kids grow into adults and go into life. Things like serving, which is one of the center points of this whole podcast. I want my children to understand that we are here to serve something and others more than ourselves. Okay, and that, as we've talked about before, that looks like a lot of different things. And the point of this podcast right now, right this very minute, is to not dig into that. We've done that in other episodes, and we will again in future episodes. But right now, the point I'm trying to make is that's one of the things that I would rather pass on. I would rather pass on a spirit of service, a spirit of serving others. I would rather pass on to my children a spirit of loving others where they're at. Again, that looks a lot of different ways. So we won't get into the specifics, but I want my children to know that we're here to do that for others. One of the best ways to reach somebody who is hard to love is to just show them the kindness that we've been shown. You can really do a lot by maybe not having a whole lot of words, but having a whole lot of actions that really show the kindness to people, show the love of Christ to them. That's what I want to pass on to my kids. To serve, to have a loving attitude towards others and a heart for others, and also to carry out the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. I want them to love others as themselves, and I want them to go out into the world and make disciples. Those are the things that I want to pass on to my children. So, anyone out there who's listening right now, I want to hear your comments on it. Do you agree with that? Did that maybe open a little bit? You open your eyes just a little bit and give another perspective that maybe you haven't thought of much, if at all? Do you disagree? I want to hear from all of you. Just call me up at 762-250-6308 and leave a voicemail. You can also text with your comments. As we've said before, we have email as well. It's Michael, spelled Michael, at calledtoserve.us. That's Michael at calledtoserve.us. Drop me a line and let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on this episode or any other for that matter. If you have something really good, I would really love to share it in future podcasts. So also, along with whatever you might be sharing with me, please leave your name. Just your first name is fine. And please leave the city where you're contacting me from. City and state if you're not in Texas. Okay, now I want to move on to some business here that we have that's still ongoing. No one has come up with the correct answer on the phone number, and this is regarding the contest that I have going on. It's for a Amazon gift card, and I really want to give that to one of y'all out there. So keep trying. I want y'all to give it a try. Now, what I'm going to do here, it's been a little while since my last podcast, and still no one has come up with the correct answer. So I'm going to give one last hint, and I think this one's going to be a doozy. I think it's going to give it away. But if it either way, I hope it does, because I really want to give this to one of y'all out there. So here's the hint. I already told you that the numbers that I gave you, they don't correspond to the dial of a phone. It doesn't correspond to the letters spelling out something. It just has to do with the numbers themselves. Now I'm going to group it in a way. I've told you before the number is 762-250-6308. And I've grouped it in the normal way that we group phone numbers, the area code, the first 3 digits, and the last 4 digits. I'm going to change that grouping up, and it should probably give it away at least to some of you. And so the first person to either call and leave a voicemail, text me at this phone number, or send an email to Michael at calledtoserve.us. The first one, and I'll be looking at the timestamps just to make sure we get the first one. You're going to be the one that wins the Amazon gift card. And make sure that you leave me a way to contact you back. I should have your number or your return email just so that I can get you this card to you. Okay, here it is. This is the significance of the number. It was kind of a fun thing for me, by the way, too. I want to say that it was a fun. I wanted to look for something that had some sort of meaning to help, more than anything, just to help me and maybe the callers remember it. And it was just kind of a fun little thing. So here we go. It's grouped differently. It's 762-2506-308. That's the phone number for the Called to Serve podcast. 762-2506-308. Now, if that doesn't give it away to at least some of you, I don't know what will. So hurry up and get a hold of me so you can claim your gift card. Again, if you have any ideas or if you, for a future podcast that you want me to talk about, if you have questions, and if you have comments for or against or neither about this or any other podcasts that I've had or will, please feel free to contact me and let me know. Well, I think that's about it. We're going to go and wrap it up. It's been a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you. I hope you'll continue following. If you have not followed, we're on pretty much every major platform. Please follow.